Jia walked through the tall glass doors of the Galactic Embassy. The morning sun hit the building's crystal walls, making them shine in many colors. She took a deep breath before stepping into the main hall where aliens from 20 different worlds worked. "You're late, human," said a voice with a sharp edge. Jia turned to see Ambassador Dorth, her boss. His blue skin wrinkled around his 4 eyes as he looked down at her. He stood almost 7 feet tall, like most people from his planet. "I'm sorry, Ambassador. The transit system had problems today," Jia said, keeping her voice calm and her face blank. "Always excuses with you humans. So fragile, so slow." Dorth waved a hand with too many fingers. "The Zell delegation arrives in 1 hour. Try not to embarrass us." Jia nodded and walked to her small desk in the corner of the translation department. Around her, aliens with strange bodies and extra limbs moved quickly, speaking in clicks, hums, and words her translator couldn't catch. "Look, the human needs to rest already," said Mok, a green-skinned worker with long arms. His friends laughed, not caring if Jia heard. Jia had ignored them and turned on her computer. She had worked at the embassy for 3 years. Every day was the same. Translate talks between Earth and other worlds. Listen to jokes about how weak humans were. Go home alone. But it paid well, and it let her stay hidden. She opened the file on the Zell people. They were coming to talk about trade deals with Earth. As she read, a small blue alien named Rax stopped at her desk. "Bet you can't finish the Zell report," Rax said, his skin changing colors as he spoke. "Their language has sounds humans can't even hear." "I'll manage," Jia said. She didn't look up. "Like you managed the Trelk talks." Half the room laughed when you couldn't say their greeting right. Jia's hand stopped moving over her screen. For a second, something cold and hard flashed in her eyes. Then it was gone. "I'll do better today," she said quietly. Rax walked away, still laughing. Jia went back to her work, but her mind drifted to a metal box hidden in her apartment. Inside were things from another life. A small medal with no name, a black uniform with no marks, and a photo of 5 people whose faces had been wiped from all records. 15 years ago, those people had done something that changed the galaxy. Something that was now just whispers and ghost stories among the stars. And Jia pushed the thought away and focused on the Zell language patterns. At noon, the Zell arrived. They looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin and no hair. Ambassador Dorth greeted them with big words and bigger promises. Jia stood behind him, speaking softly into her translator as the talks began. "Tell the Earth people we want mining rights on their moon," the Zell leader said in his own language. Jia translated perfectly, her mouth forming sounds most humans couldn't make. The Zell looked surprised. "You speak well for a human," the leader said directly to her. "Thank you," Jia answered in his language, her accent flawless. Ambassador Dorth looked annoyed. "Ms. Lee is adequate, though of course we have much better translators for important meetings." The Zell leader studied Jia with eyes like black pools. "There's something about you," he said softly. "You remind me of stories I heard as a child. About shadows that broke the mighty Trazek ships." Jia's face stayed perfectly still. "Just stories, I'm sure," she said, but her hand tightened around her translator. The meeting went on, but now and then, the Zell leader would look at Jia with curious eyes. That night, as she walked home alone through the rain, Jia felt a chill that wasn't from the weather. Someone was watching her, someone who might know who she really was. She stopped and looked back at the embassy building rising into the dark clouds. Maybe it was time to open that metal box again. 3 days after the Zell meeting, the embassy was busy. Workers rushed around, cleaning floors and hanging special lights. The Vector hegemony was coming, and everyone was afraid. "They've taken over 17 star systems," Rax told a group of workers. "They crush anyone who says no to them." Jia listened as she sorted files at her desk. The Vectors were strong and mean. They had ships that could break planets. And now, They wanted to talk with Earth. Lee, Ambassador Dorth called from across the room. Come here. Jia walked to his big desk where he sat with two other ambassadors. The vectors will be here tomorrow, Dorth said. You will translate. Do not make mistakes. If you do, they might get angry. And when vectors get angry, he drew a line across his throat. I understand, Jia said. Do you? One of the other ambassadors laughed. Humans have never faced the vectors. You don't know what real power is. Jia just nodded. She knew about power. She knew more than any of them. That night, Jia didn't go home. She went to the embassy library and read everything about the vectors. She learned their language and studied their wars. As she read, she found something strange. The vectors were using weapons that looked like Trazak guns, but the Trazak were gone. At least they were supposed to be. The next day, the vector ship landed outside the embassy. It was black and shaped like a knife. 6 tall warriors stepped out, wearing armor made of dark metal. Their faces were hidden behind masks with red eyes. The embassy workers stood in lines to greet them. Jia felt her heart beat faster when she saw the vector leader. Something about the way he moved seemed familiar. Welcome to Earth's embassy, Ambassador Dorth said with a big smile. We are honored by your visit. Jia translated his words into the harsh vector language. The vector leader turned to look at her. A human translator, he said in his own language. His voice was like stones rubbing together. Interesting choice. The talks began in the main meeting room. Jia stood in the corner, turning Dorth's words into vector speech, and then turning the vector's words into Earth language. But as she listened, she noticed something wrong. The vector leader was saying one thing in his language, but the translation device the vectors brought was saying something different in Earth language. We come in peace, the machine said. But what the leader really said was, we will test your defenses. Jia's hands felt cold. The vectors were lying. But why? When the meeting ended, Jia tried to talk to Ambassador Dorth. Sir, the vector translation is wrong. They're hiding something, she said. Dorth laughed. Oh, and you know vector language better than their own machines. I think they're planning something bad, Jia said. They mentioned testing our defenses. Other workers heard her and began to laugh. Look at the scared human, Mock said, always thinking someone's going to attack their little planet. The vectors are just doing business, Dorth said. Stop being paranoid. It makes us look weak. He walked away, leaving Jia standing alone. No one believed her. No one thought a human could understand better than alien machines. That night, Jia used her old security codes to open the embassy's secret files. She had to know if her feelings were right. The computer screen lit up her face as she found what she was looking for. The vectors had moved ships close to a human colony world called New Hope. They said it was for trade, but Jia knew those ships. They weren't trade ships. They were war ships. As she stared at the screen, a message popped up. It had no name, just 5 words. Ghost of Trazak, they're coming back. Jia closed the computer quickly. Only one person would call her that name. Someone from her old team. Someone from her past. She looked out the window at the vector ship sitting in the dark. Something bad was coming, and she might be the only one who could stop it. Jia couldn't sleep that night. The message kept playing in her mind. Ghost of Trazak, they're coming back. She sat on her bed and pulled out the metal box from under it. Her hands shook as she opened it. The black uniform still smelled like smoke and metal. She touched the small patch where a name should be. 15 years was a long time, but some memories never fade. Jia closed her eyes, and the past came rushing back. 15 years ago, Captain Jolie stood in a dark room with 4 other soldiers. They wore black uniforms with no marks or names. Their faces were serious. This mission doesn't exist, said Commander Han, a tall man with a scar on his chin. If you're caught, Earth will say you're not ours. We understand, Jia said. She was only 22 then, but her eyes looked much older. Han pointed to a map of stars. The Trazek Dominion has taken 9 systems in 2 years. Their ships can't be stopped. Their soldiers can't be killed. At least, that's what everyone thinks. But we know better, said Sung, a short man with quick hands. Han nodded. We found their weakness. Their whole war machine runs on one system, one central brain. If we can get inside and shut it down, they'll break, Jia finished. But getting inside their homeworld is impossible. Han smiled. That's why we're sending the Ghost. Everyone looked at Jia. That was her code name, the Ghost, because she could get in anywhere, and no one would see her until it was too late. The memory faded as Jia put on her work clothes for the next day. Her hands moved on their own, checking for weapons she no longer carried. Old habits never really die. At the embassy, things were tense. The Vector ship was still there, and more Vector soldiers walked the halls. Jia watched them from her desk. They were looking for something, or someone. Li, Ambassador Dorth called. The Vectors want their translator to work with you on a joint statement. Go to room 12. Jia walked to the small meeting room. Inside waited a Vector soldier with no mask. His face was hard, with ridges of bone where eyebrows should be. He smiled when she entered, but it wasn't friendly. The human translator, he said in perfect Earth language. I am Krell. Jia Li, she said, sitting across from him. Krell pushed a paper to her. We need this translated for your people. A statement of friendship between Vectors and humans. Jia read it slowly. The words were nice, but something felt wrong. There were small phrases that, when read a certain way, sounded like threats. Is there a problem? Krell asked, watching her too closely. No, Jia lied. It's good. I'll translate it. As she worked, her computer beeped. A message appeared. Meet at old coffee shop. 1 hour. 80. Jia's heart jumped. H meant Han, her old commander. What is that? Krell asked, trying to see her screen. Just work notes, Jia said, closing the message. I'm almost done here. She finished the translation, changing a few words to make the threats less clear. Krell read it and frowned. You changed it, he said softly. Just to make it sound better in our language, Jia said, standing up. I need to give this to Ambassador Dorth now. Krell grabbed her arm as she passed. His grip was very strong. I know your face, he said. Where have I seen you before? Jia kept her face calm. I've worked here for 3 years. Maybe at another meeting. Krell let go but kept staring at her. Maybe, he said, or maybe somewhere else, somewhere far from here. Jia left quickly. She needed to meet Han. If he was here, things were worse than she thought. Outside the embassy, Jia checked to make sure no one followed her. Then she headed to the old coffee shop where her team used to meet before everything changed. Before the night they broke a great power and then disappeared into normal life. As she walked, she felt the weight of her past getting heavier. The ghost was coming back, whether she wanted it or not. The coffee shop was small and dark. Most people walked past without seeing it. That's why Han had picked it years ago. Jia sat at a back table, watching the door. A tall man in a gray coat walked in. His hair was white now, but Jia knew Han's face right away. He sat across from her without a word. It's been a long time, Jia said. Han nodded. 15 years. You look good for a ghost. Why are you here? Jia asked. Our deal was to never meet again. Han leaned forward. The Vectors found something in the old Trazek ruins, a weapon the Trazek were building before you stopped them. They fixed it and made it work. Jia felt cold. What kind of weapon? The kind that can burn a planet clean, Han said. And they want to test it on New Hope Colony. Your translation work confirmed what we feared. Why New Hope? Jia asked. It's just farmers and scientists. Because it's the closest human world to Trazek space, Han said. And because someone wants revenge. Revenge for what? Han looked at her hard. For what you did to the Trazek homeworld. For what you did to their leaders. Jia's mind raced back to that night. The Trazek Central Command. The fight. The fire. Things she tried to forget. Who knows? She asked. About me. Someone in the Vector group knows, Han said. They've been asking questions about the ghost of Trazek. Looking at old files no one should be able to find. Krell, Jia said, remembering how he stared at her. He's looking for me. Han stood up. Be careful. They might know your face, but they don't know what you can do. Keep it that way until we learn more. As Han left, he put a small metal disc on the table. If things get bad, press this. I'll find you. Back at the embassy, security was tighter. More Vector soldiers stood in the halls. Jia tried to look normal as she walked to her desk. The human returns, Mok said with a laugh. Did you run away because you were scared of the big bad Vectors? Jia ignored him and checked her computer. There was a new message. All translators report to main meeting room. Urgent. In the meeting room, Ambassador Dorth stood with the Vector leader. Krell was there too, watching Jia as she entered. Good news, Dorth said. The Vectors want to show us their new ship. We're all invited to see it tomorrow. It's a great honor. Jia felt her stomach tighten. This was wrong. The Vectors wouldn't show their ships to anyone. After the meeting, Jia tried to send a message to Earth Defense Command about the weapon, but her computer wouldn't connect. She tried her personal device. Nothing worked. All signals were being blocked. As she walked down a quiet hall, she heard voices from a small room. She stopped to listen. The human colony won't know what hit them, said a Vector voice. The weapon will fire from orbit, and New Hope will burn. When? Asked another voice. 3 days. After we leave this pathetic embassy. Jia backed away slowly. She needed to warn someone. But who would believe her? As she turned, she bumped into someone. It was a young man from the embassy she had seen before, but never talked to. Sorry, he said. I wasn't looking. He had a kind face and wore a translator badge like hers. It's fine, Jia said, trying to move past him. I'm Ta, he said. You're Jia Li, right? The one who thinks the Vectors are lying. Jia stopped. How do you know about that? Ta looked around to make sure no one was listening. Because I think the same thing. And I've been watching them too. From down the hall, Jia saw Krell turn a corner and spot her. His eyes narrowed. We can't talk here, Jia whispered to Ta. Find me later. Krell was walking toward her now, his hand resting on something at his belt. Jia knew that walk. It was a hunter's walk, and she was the prey. Jia walked fast down the hall, trying to look normal. Krell followed her, getting closer with each step. She turned a corner and saw a crowd of embassy workers. Perfect. She slipped into the crowd, moving between aliens of all shapes and sizes. Krell pushed through the crowd, his eyes never leaving her. Jia ducked into a side room and closed the door. It was a small storage room with boxes and old computer parts. The door opened. Krell stood there, blocking the exit. Finally alone, he said, stepping in and closing the door. The famous ghost of Trazek. I don't know what you're talking about, Jia said. Krell laughed. My father knew your face. He saw it before he died. Before his ship burned and fell from the sky. Your father? Jia asked, though she already knew the answer. General Vex of the Trazek Dominion, Krell said, his voice full of hate. He commanded the greatest fleet in the galaxy until a human woman broke into our central command and destroyed everything. Jia backed up against the wall. You're mistaken. Krell pulled out a small gun. I don't think so, Ghost. My father saved your image from the security system before he died. I've been looking for you for 15 years. Jia's mind raced. She needed a way out. The weapon, she said. The one you're going to use on New Hope. It won't just kill humans. The radiation will spread to other systems. We know, Krell said. That's the point. The galaxy will see what happens to those who stand against us. Gia saw her chance when Krell looked down to check his gun. She moved fast, faster than a human should be able to move. Her hand hit his wrist, knocking the gun away. Then she pushed past him to the door. The alarm started ringing as soon as she opened the door. Krell must have set it off. Red lights flashed in the halls. "Stop her," Krell shouted. "She's a spy." Embassy security officers turned to look at Jia. She ran, pushing past workers and jumping over a small alien who got in her way. "What's happening?" Ambassador Dorth asked as Jia ran past his office. "The Vectors are planning to attack New Hope Colony," Jia shouted. "They have a weapon that can destroy planets." Dorth's face turned dark with anger. "Lies. You've gone too far this time." "Lee." He reached for a communication device. "Security, arrest Translator Lee for spreading false information." Now everyone was chasing her. Vector soldiers, embassy security, even some of her co-workers who wanted to look good to the bosses. Gia ran to the computer room. She needed proof of the Vector plans. She locked the door behind her and quickly searched the files. There, the flight plan for the Vector ship showed it was heading straight to New Hope after leaving Earth. She copied the file to a small data stick and put it in her pocket. Then she heard banging on the door. "Open up, Lee." It was embassy security. Jia looked around. There was a vent in the ceiling. She climbed on a desk and pushed the vent open, then pulled herself up and inside. Just as she closed the vent, the door burst open. She crawled through the dark, tight space of the air system. Below, she could hear people searching for her. "Find her," Dorth's voice echoed. "She's making us look bad to the Vectors." Gia kept crawling until she reached an outside vent. She kicked it open and jumped down into an alley behind the embassy. Rain was falling hard, making it hard to see. As she started to run, someone grabbed her arm. She spun around, ready to fight. "It's me," Ta said, holding up his hands. "I want to help." "Why would you help me?" Jia asked, still ready to run. "Everyone thinks I'm crazy or a spy." "Because I found something too," Ta said. He pulled out his own data stick. "The Vectors are working with the old Trazek leaders. It's all here, but no one would listen to me either." Jia heard voices and saw lights at the end of the alley. "We need to go," she said. "Now." Ta nodded. "I know a place, but we need to hurry." As they ran through the rainy streets, Jia realized her quiet life was over. The ghost of Trazek was back, and this time, everyone would know her name. Tai led Jia through back streets and narrow paths. The rain made their clothes heavy and cold. After an hour of running and hiding, they reached a small house at the edge of the city. "My uncle's place," Ta said as he opened the door. "He's off-world. No one will look for us here." Inside, Jia checked all the windows and doors. Old habits from her past life came back easily. "We need to contact Earth Defense Command," she said. "Show them what we found." Ta shook his head. "I tried. All official channels are being washed. The Vectors have people everywhere." Jia sat down, thinking hard. "Then we need help from someone they're not watching." She took out the small metal disc Han had given her and pressed it. A soft beep came from it, then silence. "What's that?" Tai asked. "A way to call an old friend," Jia said. "Now we wait." While they waited, Ta showed Jia what he had found. On his data stick were messages between the Vectors and someone calling themselves Trazek Remnant. The messages talked about a weapon and revenge. "How did you get these?" Jia asked. "I clean the communication room at night," Ta said. "No one notices the quiet human in the corner." Jia smiled. "They never do." A knock on the door made them both jump. Jia moved to a spot where she could fight if needed. Tai opened the door slowly. A short man with a round face stood there. He was wet from the rain and breathing hard. "Sung," Jia said, recognizing her old teammate. Sung smiled. Ghost, you look good for someone who's all over the news. He came in and showed them a news report on his device. Jia's face was there with the words, Dangerous SPI below it. They're saying you work for an enemy government, Sung said, and that you attacked a Vector diplomat. They're lying, Jia said. The Vectors are planning to attack New Hope with a Trazak weapon. We have proof. Sung looked at the data sticks. Then we need to get this to General Park at Defense Command. He'll believe us. How? Tai asked. The spaceport and all official buildings are being watched. Sung smiled again. Who said anything about official buildings? I have a ship. Small, but fast. Where? Jia asked. Old mining dock, north side. Sung said. But there's a problem. Vector soldiers are all over the city. We'd never make it there without being seen. Jia stood up straight. Yes, we will. Because they're looking for a woman and 2 men trying to hide. They're not looking for embassy officials walking in the open. She pointed to a closet. Tai, check for clothes. We need to look like we belong on the streets. An hour later, they were ready. Ta wore a delivery uniform. Sung had a doctor's coat. And Jia had changed her hair and put on glasses and a business suit. Stay calm and walk normal, Jia told them as they left the house. Don't look around too much. Don't hurry. They walked through the city as the rain stopped and the sun came out. Twice they passed Vector soldiers, but no one looked at them closely. At a busy crossing, 3 Vector soldiers stopped them. Identification, the lead soldier said. Tai looked nervous. Sung reached slowly for a fake ID, but before he could get it, the leader pointed his gun at Jia. You look familiar. Jia sighed. I was hoping to avoid this. Then she moved. Her hands were so fast, they seemed to blur. In 3 seconds, all 3 soldiers were on the ground. None had time to shout or fire their weapons. Tai stared at her with his mouth open. How did you? We need to run now, Jia said, ignoring his question. They'll be missed soon. As they ran toward the mining docks, Tai kept looking at Jia with new eyes. You're not just a translator, are you? He asked when they stopped to catch their breath. What are you really? Jia looked at him for a long moment. The person who broke the Trazak Dominion 15 years ago. The person who's going to stop the Vectors from using that weapon. And right now, the most hunted human in the galaxy. Sung nodded. She's being modest. She didn't just help break the Trazak. She did it almost single-handedly. The stories they tell about the ghost don't even come close to what she really did. Tai's eyes went wide. But you just seemed so normal. Jia smiled a little. That was the point. Sung's ship was small and old, but it flew fast. Jia, Sung, and Ta left Earth behind and headed toward the Defense Command Station in space. We have a problem, Sung said, looking at the ship's screen. The Vector flagship is blocking the way to the station. Jia looked at the screen. The Vector ship was huge, like a black mountain floating in space. That's not just a flagship, she said. That's a weapon carrier. The Trazak planet killer must be on board. What do we do? Tai asked. We can't get past it. Jia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, we don't go past it. We go into it. Sung looked at her like she was crazy. Into the Vector flagship. That's suicide. Not if they bring us in themselves, Jia said. She pointed to a small button on the ship's control panel. Send a distress signal. Tell them our engine is failing. Sung understood her plan. They'll capture us. Yes, Jia said. And once we're inside, I can find the weapon and stop it. Ta shook his head. There must be hundreds of soldiers on that ship. Jia smiled. Good thing they can't see ghosts. The plan worked. The Vector ship pulled them in with a tractor beam. Soldiers waited for them in the landing bay. Hands up, the Vector captain shouted when they stepped out. You are now prisoners of the Vector hegemony. The soldiers took their weapons but didn't search them well. Jia still had Han's metal disc hidden in her sleeve. The Vectors took them to a cell deep in the ship. As soon as they were alone, Jia pulled out the disc. It wasn't just a signal device. It opened to reveal small tools. "Can you get us out?" Tai asked. "Better than that," Jia said. "I can get into their systems." She used the tools to open a panel in the wall. Behind it were wires and a small computer screen. Her fingers moved quickly, typing codes she had memorized years ago. "Trazek and Vector systems are similar," she explained. "Same basic design." After a few minutes, the cell door opened. "Where now?" Sung asked. Jia pointed up. "The command bridge will be at the top. That's where they'll control the weapon." They moved through the ship like shadows. Jia knew how to avoid being seen on cameras. When they met guards, she took them down silently. "We're getting close," she said as they climbed up a narrow service ladder. Suddenly, alarms started ringing. A voice spoke over the ship's speakers. "Prisoners escaped. All soldiers to level 5. The ghost of Trazek is on board. Repeat, the ghost of Trazek is on board." "They know who you are," Ta said, looking worried. "Doesn't matter now," Jia replied. "We're here." They reached a large door with heavy locks. Through a small window, they could see the command bridge. Men and women in Vector uniforms worked at control panels. At the center stood a tall man in a black uniform with gold marks. "That's the Supreme Commander," Sun whispered. Jia looked closer. "No, that's Vex Jr., son of General Vex, Krell's brother." Vex Jr. was pointing at a screen that showed New Hope Colony. A large weapon was being aimed at the planet. "They're getting ready to fire," Jia said. "We have to stop them now." She used the last tool from Han's disc to open the door. As it slid open, all eyes on the bridge turned to look. "Hello," Jia said calmly. "Remember me?" Vex Jr.'s face turned white with shock. The ghost. Then his surprise changed to anger. "Kill her." Soldiers reached for their guns, but Jia was already moving. She jumped and rolled, then came up holding a weapon she took from the first soldier she reached. Sung and Tai ducked behind control panels as shooting started. Jia moved like water between the shots, never where the soldiers aimed. She fought her way toward the main control panel. 3 soldiers tried to stop her. She knocked down the first with a kick, threw the second into the third, and kept moving. Vex Jr. pulled out a long knife. "My father told me about you before he died," he said. "He said you fought like a demon." Jia faced him, her eyes cold. "Your father was a monster who killed millions. And now you want to be just like him." "I want to be better than him," Vex Jr. said. "I want to finish what he started, beginning with New Hope." He lunged at her with the knife. The fight for the fate of New Hope Colony had begun. Vex Jr. swung his knife at Jia's head. She ducked and moved to the side. He was fast, but she was faster. "I've trained my whole life to kill you," Vex Jr. said, attacking again. Jia blocked his arm and pushed him back. "Then you wasted your life." Around them, Sung and Tai fought with the soldiers. Sung was good in a fight, but Tai was just trying to stay alive. Vex Jr. pressed a button on his wrist. "The weapon is charging. In 2 minutes, New Hope will be gone. Nothing can stop it now." Jia kicked his legs out from under him. As he fell, she grabbed his arm and twisted until he dropped the knife. "There's always a way to stop it," she said. On a big screen above them, they could see New Hope. The weapon was aimed right at it. A red light showed it was almost ready to fire. Jia ran to the main control panel. Soldiers tried to stop her, but she moved through them like they were standing still. Years of training made her body remember things her mind had tried to forget. At the panel, she started typing fast, but a message flashed on the screen. "Access denied. It needs a command code," she said to Sung, who had reached her side. Vex Jr. laughed as he got up from the floor. "Only I know the code. You've lost, Ghost." The weapon was 30 seconds from firing. Jia looked around the bridge. There had to be another way. Then she saw it. A small emergency panel near the floor. All ships had one. She ran to it and pulled it open. Inside were wires that connected to every system on the ship. "What are you doing?" Todd called from where he was hiding. "Something crazy," Jia answered. She grabbed 2 main power wires and pulled them apart. Sparks flew everywhere. The lights on the bridge flickered. "Stop her," Vex Jr. shouted. But it was too late. Jia connected the wires in a new way. A trick she had learned years ago on a Trazek ship. The whole bridge went dark for 3 seconds. When the lights came back on, all the screens showed the same message. System reset. The weapon powered down. New Hope was safe. "No," Vex Jr. screamed. He ran at Jia with murder in his eyes. This time, she didn't move away. She stood her ground and met him head-on. Her hand caught his fist. Her foot blocked his kick. Then she hit him once, hard and fast. Vex Jr. fell to the floor and didn't get up. "How?" Tai asked, coming out from his hiding place. "How did you know that would work?" Jia smiled a little. "Because I did the same thing to his father's ship 15 years ago." She went to another panel and pressed some buttons. Her face appeared on every screen in the ship. "Attention all Vector soldiers," she said. "Your leaders lied to you. They were going to use a weapon that would have killed millions, including many of your own people. The radiation would have spread to Vector worlds too." She showed them the files from Ta's data stick. "This is proof that your leaders were working with Trazek criminals. This was never about honor or power. It was about revenge." Jia pressed more buttons. "I've sent this message to every ship in the area, including Earth Defense Command. They're on their way now." Within minutes, Earth ships surrounded the Vector flagship. Soldiers came on board and arrested Vex Jr. and his officers. General Park himself came to the bridge. "Captain Lee," he said, saluting her. "Or should I say, the ghost of Trazek. It's an honor to meet you." 3 days later, Jia sat in a meeting room at Earth Defense Headquarters. The story of what happened on the Vector ship was all over the news. Everyone knew about the ghost of Trazek now. The door opened, and Ambassador Dorth walked in. He looked uncomfortable. "Ms. Lee," he said, not meeting her eyes. I came to apologize. We were wrong about you." Jia nodded but said nothing. "The embassy would like you to come back," Dorth continued. "With a promotion, of course, and more respect." Before Jia could answer, Todd walked in with General Park. "Actually," the general said, "we have a better offer. Earth needs a new ambassador. Someone who understands both humans and aliens. Someone they'll respect." Jia thought about it. "I'm not a politician." "No," Ta said with a smile. "You're something better. You're the person who saved us all. Twice." 2 weeks later, Jia walked into the Galactic Embassy again. But this time, she didn't go to the small desk in the corner. She went to the ambassador's office, her office now. As she passed Mach and the others who used to tease her, they stopped talking and stood straight. "Ambassador Lee," they said with new respect in their voices. Jia smiled at them. "Good morning," she said. "We had a lot of work to do." No one teased her after that. Not the person who broke great powers.